Can anyone confirm if I'm audible? I've been talking. I don't know whether I'm talking to myself.
Yes, you are talking to yourself. We can hear you.
For now.
Yeah, so I've been talking for the last 3 minutes. So I think I don't know at what point but I think I just wanted to welcome Wango or Makombe to introduce the team they are going to lead this session with before we begin. Meanwhile, for all the participants, kindly introduce yourself under the chat area so then we know who is here and which partners are represented. So Makombe or Patrick, kindly take it away.
Okay, Ben. Good morning, everyone. So, I'm Makombe. We are going to lead this session with Patrick Wango and also other members are also present, Anthony, Chege, and Ben. So they will also be participating as we take the lead. Yeah. So that is the members we have here right now. So we are just waiting for a signal from Otieno to allow us to start if at all the members who are waiting for have joined.
I think we are a quorum, so we just begin.
Okay, that's right. So, as you are aware that last week you were introduced to the OpenMRS ecosystem, and I think Anthony did give highlights of the various terminologies that we use in this ecosystem. And as of today, I think people are at par. Unless there are new guys who are not there last time. If at all they are, then maybe we will handle them later on after maybe this session so that they can also be up to speed with the rest. The session of today will be more or less of technical a bit so that people can now start doing the work. It will be full of maybe first session I'll just try to highlight some few things, and thereafter we will be taking you the hands-on skills on how you will be able to add an add-on module. So if I can just share my screen, let me just try to see if I can share my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen? Otieno, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, right.
I think it is here to get here, so maybe we can now see your screen.
Okay. So I just prepared some few slides here which I can present before we try to okay. I think it's visible. So I start by maybe giving a brief definition of what is a module. So in the context of the OpenMRS, we are looking at a module as a packaged Java code that is installable and it will be able to run on OpenMRS. And this module will be able to like modify aspects of OpenMRS, maybe introducing new features, or can be used to change the features that exist in the OpenMRS. So OpenMRS is just more or less like a container. So this container, you can introduce the modules to make it look the way you want, or you can give other features that you need. You can always install them in the OpenMRS ecosystem. So when we talk about the KenyaEMR add-on module here, what we are referring to are those modules which can be built on top of KenyaEMR. Remember, KenyaEMR is a distribution of OpenMRS. So you can also be at liberty to custom the KenyaEMR and make changes the way you want, just like you can do to the OpenMRS. So we are moving from the broader picture, that's the OpenMRS. We are narrowing down to another distribution of OpenMRS, in this context, KenyaEMR. And this KenyaEMR can have modules, different modules, which can be used to customize it as any person or partners may want. So in this case, if you want to add an add-on module to KenyaEMR, it means therefore KenyaEMR module as a module will be required in that your add-on module. So we'll be showing you later on where you can place that to specify that you are now saying that this module I'm creating will be a KenyaEMR module. And with when you introduce the add-on modules, what content can be added? Some of the things that can be added through the add-on modules to KenyaEMR, you can introduce apps, right? So when I talk of apps, if you interacted with KenyaEMR, you've always seen when you go to the homepage of KenyaEMR, you will see a registration app. So that is an app. If you look at the clinician, that's an app. If you see a prep chart, those are just apps that have been introduced to KenyaEMR. So through add-on modules, you can do that. You can introduce a new app. Maybe like in this context, we can say the KNH guys want to introduce an app that for KNH, they can do that. Another thing that can be added through the add-on modules are the metadata. So going forward, just as you were introduced last time, that we have the metadata, we have forms, we have programs. Those things can be added, and you will be seeing that add-ons as we go on, how that can be done using the add-on modules. Currently, in KenyaEMR, we have the programs like, we have HIV, TB, PrEP, MCH. Those are like those are just some modules which have been introduced to customize KenyaEMR the way you see it. You can also introduce flags. So flags in this case, we are talking things like alerts. So if you've been interacting with KenyaEMR, at some point you've seen some on the patient banner, you will be seeing some colored things, maybe due for BL, some alerts, eligible for art. Those are just flags. You can still do those through add-on modules. We have identifiers, like an example will be the national ID. Yes.
No, sorry for the interruption. I think your audio or your microphone is acting up. You are breaking, so we are finding it hard to understand what you're saying. I don't know if you can just do a little settings on it.
Hello, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me? Otieno,
Yeah.
are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so sorry for that. So I was saying, I was just trying to highlight some of the things which you can do with the add-on modules that can be introduced if you do your add-on module. So you can customize KenyaEMR based on some of the few things I've highlighted, like the flags. In this case, what we mean here are some of the alerts. If you've been interacting with KenyaEMR, at times on the patient banner, you'll be able to see maybe some alerts like eligible for art, due for VL, such are alerts we are talking about. Also, we have the identifiers. In this case, you've been seeing the national ID. You can have the NHIF numbers, CCC numbers, as well as you can also do reports. So these are just some few things. The list is not exhausted. There are others, like was highlighted last time, like the chores. Those ones you can still introduce using the add-on modules. So now that we are at par with what add-on modules can do and how they can customize KenyaEMR to give it a feel or a look the way you've been seeing it. I'll now just go directly to the setting up, like if you were to do your own module, what would you need in terms of development? So to set up the dev environment, there are some tools which you will be required to install. One, you will be required to have installed Java, because as from the introduction, just as I introduced, I say the modules we are adding, they are Java based. So they are written in Java. So you must be having Java installed. In this case, we have Java 7, Java 8, Java. Currently, we are using Java 7 and 8, but mostly on the facilities, we have Java 7 running. Also, you will need ID. So ID in this case is the editor which you are going to use. So there are so many, so it will be on one's preference what you want to use. We have IntelliJ, the JetBeans community. We have Eclipse, so depending on one's preference, that is up to you. You are not restricted to these two. I've just highlighted them, but you are free to use whatever editor you feel comfortable with. So on the web server, we have Tomcat or Jetty. So you can install either. You can install Tomcat 6, Tomcat 7. And one thing, Tomcat 7 only works with Java 8. So I think people should note that. But Tomcat 6 will be able to run with Java 7 and 8 compatible. Also, another tool which you will have to install is the MySQL. In this case, currently we are using MySQL 5.7. We've not upgraded 5.6. We've not upgraded, so that's the one we are still using. Another tool which you will be required to install is Maven. I think roughly the version we are using currently is Maven 3.9. And maybe if you are a team that would like to collaborate, we also have Git. So Git is a version control tool which is good for collaboration. Even if you are to do this thing as an individual, you will still require Git, because you need to host this work maybe on GitHub, such that even if your laptop gets lost, you don't need to go over and start afresh. So Git will be helping you in doing that, maybe in team collaboration, as well as pushing your changes and maybe pulling them. For one to create a module, there is the OpenMRS SDK. So you can start by installing the OpenMRS SDK. So the SDK one is the one which will help you to, if you just issue a command like the one I've shown there, it will help you to create like scaffolding the project for you. So if you run it, it will create for you the folder itself and the subdirectories the way they are supposed to be, which can be interpreted by the OpenMRS. So it will bundle for you everything together. So that's where we start from. And like in this presentation, we had created a module using this tool, the SDK, and you'll be able to see the structure of that folder the way it looks when the practical parts now comes in. So if you have that tool, you should be able to create the module. And OpenMRS, one thing to note is that OpenMRS SDK runs on Java 8. So maybe if you install Java 7 and you try to run the OpenMRS SDK, it will fail. And therefore, people should take note of that. In fact, they were trying to create they are trying to create their own module. So on forms, we are using the OpenMRS HTML form entry. So this one is what we normally use to create the forms you've been seeing. And it's just the normal HTML tags, nothing strange. But it uses, there is a combination of the normal HTML tags as well as some special tags. So the special tags are normally interpreted by the OpenMRS model, just as you were told last time. You will be able to see an obs tag. So through the obs tag, you will be able to handle those things that they are dealing with observation. We also have the encounter tags. Will be able, can help you handle like the encounter date, something of the sort. We have the patient tag. So the location tag for locations, if you want maybe introduce a default location, just like if you open the forms, if you've been keen, you normally see a location, encounter location comes on top, and even the provider. So even there is also a provider tag. You just have to hook it using that tag, and it will be able to see. You'll be able to see it on the form. So that is how form entry is special to us. It helps us in solving some of those issues. Another thing that we'll be also looking at are things like the reports, which will also take you through, just as I had indicated earlier, that through the add-on modules, you can create reports, you can introduce reports. So we have got very different types of reports that we'll be highlighting for you. We have the cohort and indicator level reports, right? An example of an indicator level report could be maybe TXCA report, such like. And these things, as you will be seeing, they are in the hands-on. They are having different builders. Those ones we are going to show you as we go on. Identifiers, I think I had highlighted that. So there is, I don't need to add any. Any question up to there? Just on the overview of what I've just said. Are guys hearing me?
Tunakupata, we are hearing you.
Okay, so
I think
there are no
also for those who are able to just type their questions, we can respond to them in the text area just to save on time as well.
So I think from there, I've been given a brief introduction of what we expect today. I'll stop sharing my screen so that I introduce Patrick to pick it up from there. And now we go into the details, more details, the deep dive for today, the technical work right now.
So, good morning, team. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, I'm Patrick.
Patrick, you're a bit far away from the mic.
I'm far away from my mic. What about now? Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All right, all right. So I'm going to take you through the second part of the presentation. I'm Patrick, and basically I'm going to put what my colleague Makombe has elaborated into context. So this is be now a deep dive. Whatever he has explained, we are going to now focus it on the actual development environment. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? Hello. So you can see my screen. Okay, that's good. So what I think I'm going to divide this presentation into two. First, we're going to have a deep dive into the development of the add-on module. It will be quite a bit technical. Then I'm going to show you now, after development, the output of what we'll have developed. So the first instance is I'm going to basically have a recap on what Makombe has said. So first one is on the development environment. He has said that there is, among the requirements is that we propose to use Java 7. So I think most of you are acquainted with Java 7. So you can use Java 7 and Tomcat 6. Those ones pretty much works, although you can try to use Tomcat 7 with Java 8. So next, for us, we use IntelliJ mostly for our development. So as you can see on the screen, this is pretty much the IntelliJ that I'm using. Secondly, we first have to have like an add-on module. So I think Makombe explained how to create an add-on module. So basically, this probably what you're seeing. The start of it is a blank and add-on module, which we basically populated with our various components. So after having now we have the setup. So next, going deep down into the development piece of it. The first thing we're going to focus on is how probably to develop a form. So basically, a form is a data collection tool in the context of OpenMRS. Most of the data that we collect, I might emphasize not all, but most of the data that we collect through forms. So basically, a form is basically developed through HTML. So we use HTML tags. On HTML, it's the normal HTML tags and JavaScript, and also we use some special tags that those are OpenMRS based special tags, and these special tags basically mostly relate to the data model that I think on the last session Anthony had highlighted. So some of the data models, like the observations. So we have an obs tag. Let me highlight the one form that we created. So as you can see the hierarchy, we have the HTML form. So we have the form. This is the form. I think you can see it. It's called inpatientcare.html. It's just a small form that we created to enable us to demonstrate. So we have this HTML form. First of all, you can focus on the hierarchy, where we have placed it. It's inside the OMOD say the source, Java, resources, web app, HTML forms. And so the way we develop the form, you can see the HTML form tag, that's the opening, a bit of JavaScript on top there, and there's some custom JavaScript functions like this before submit. And then basically you have a bit of CSS. So this is the standard HTML development. So, and then in addition, as I had mentioned, there are special tags mainly based on the OpenMRS data model. So as you can see there, we have an encounter tag. In addition, we could have an obs tag. So down here, you can see obs ID. So basically this is an obs tag. So this one is the data model for observation that is also in the database. So, and then we also have others that are not probably highlighted here, such as the patient and location tags. I think location could be here, but yeah, they're the patient and location tags. So basically what this form does, once you collect data from this form, it will basically add a name, as you can see there, and give it a concept ID 160,638 and a mobile number, concept ID 160,642. So basically, this is a form with two fields, name and mobile number. So for custom development, you can have other variables, probably you can even extend name to first name, last name, middle name. You can collect data on anything you feel that is important for your customization. And what is critically important is that whatever you want to collect data on, it mostly needs to be under the obs tag, and it needs to have a concept ID. So I think you can now relate how the concept ID is related to your data collection item. So if, for example, you want to add something like a treatment supporter name, you could have an ID for that person, the concept ID, which you can easily look up into the concept data model, and then have an obs, then you put ID, you can save treatment supporter ID, then you put that concept ID. So on the form which we're going to move into the second section, you will see that you just have a text box, probably a text box which you can type in the name. So for this, I could probably pick another example if you want to pick the height and the weight. So you could have obs ID height, concept ID, you put the concept ID of height. And in the front end, you just see a text box which will have that particular control to pick that particular item. So this is basically the form. So this is an example. And so that is how we do the form development. You have any question on this one?
Yes. So just to add on what Patrick has been saying, as you can see there, we just have the normal, as I had stated earlier, we have normal HTML tags. You can see the div, you can see the table tags, the table row, the table data. Those are just normal HTML tags, just as we had indicated. Then you can see also the special OpenMRS tags that we talked about, like the obs being introduced. So that's how the form is being developed. And all these tags, you don't need to cram them. I forgot to tell you that the OpenMRS have a wiki, whereby if you just go and search OpenMRS wiki for HTML form entry, you will see all this explained for you, how to use them. So that could be your point of reference when you are doing development. Whenever you are not so sure of what is up or what you need, you can always refer to the OpenMRS wiki for HTML form entry, and you will get all these concepts explained. So just as Patrick also said, you can see we have the concept IDs. So before you add a concept ID, first of all, you will need to know what you want to store, as was explained in the earlier presentation. Do you want to store a text? Do you want to store a numeric? do you want to store a coded value, right? So you should also, in this case, maybe a coded value would be like the selects. You can have multi-selects, you can have single select. Those can be the coded. Whereby when I talk of coded, it means you have another concept answering another concept as a question. So that should be very clear. You have to know if you want to store a text, you must go and search a concept that corresponds to whatever you want. Like an example would be, if I want to capture something on weight, I will have to go to the OpenMRS dictionary, the concept dictionary, and try to search weight and see the relevant concept for that. Then that's what you use. You will be using as a concept ID. So that's how things happen here. And if there is any other question, you can.
Yeah, so Makombe, maybe just to clarify something, we can go to the concept dictionary and look for this concept 16638 and see what it's supposed to collect. Then we come back to the form and see.
I think Patrick will be searching that because he's the one who has shared his screen. I don't want to interrupt that. So let Patrick just go to the concept dictionary and try to search for us 16638. And we see the definition, how it's defined.
Yeah, so as Patrick is switching screens, I think it's important to just say that we usually have very specific forms. So for this one, I think the example was to show maybe if you are to record information about treatment supporter on a form.
Maybe just a suggestion.
So that is what I think the sample form is about. So maybe Patrick, yeah, so as you can see, the concept used there is 16638, which is, yeah, so the name is name of treatment supporter. So as you can see, the data type here is text, which means that the observation we are collecting is actually expecting a text response. So Patrick, maybe if you just go back to, the form, Yeah, code. Yeah, so as you can see, we have the name. So we are, maybe Patrick, you need to change this as treatment supporter name so that we know the concept is actually for treatment supporter. And then if you, I think naming is important for maybe people will be reviewing the form later on, so that they know what they are actually looking at. Yeah, so treatment supporter name, you have that concept. Maybe you can search for this phone number, I mean mobile number. We see what it expects as a response. Patrick. Yeah, search. Oh, okay, okay. So we can see it's 16642, and then fully specified name is telephone number of treatment supporter, which also expects text. So I think basically we are building a form where both observations to be recorded expect text responses. So that is so if you are to add maybe something extra, I don't know, can we add like treatment supporter age? Just can we you just search your concept for age here. Yeah, so you have patient age, respondent age. I mean, you can show more. You can show like the first 100 or 50. Wango, hapo, you can show like the first 100. Okay, so basically, if we were to add, we can even use this calculated. Let me see. Can you show like, yeah, the first 50? So we are just trying to look for something for age. All these are concepts for age. But for now, I think there is no age in years somewhere. Anyway, we can just pick. Yeah, I think it's basically because we don't use concepts for age-like stuff. But I was just thinking, pick this respondent age. We just see what it is. Respondent age, down. It's there. I can see it. Just Yeah, so this is like numeric. So let's just say that we just use this concept to capture the treatment supporter age. So maybe Wango, you can modify the form so that we add age and then we use them going forward.
I can add an age.
Yeah, just pick this concept, show how you added those ones, the first two. So share your screen, share the form. Yeah, so look at what he is doing. They talked about special orbs. These, special tags for OpenMRS, they actually correspond to the data models we talked about last time. Last time we talked about having a person, having a location, having a patient making a visit, a visit having one or more encounters, and within encounters we have observations. So OBS is actually for the observation model. You can see we have encounter location tag just on line 83, which ideally corresponds to the location we talked about. This is the facility you always see on the forms. Then the encounter date, which is the date when the visit was made. Yeah, so actually on the forms, what we are adding, we have the normal HTML tags for building web forms, and then there are custom tags for OpenMRS. Yeah, so as you can see, to add age, he just did a TD, which is a table data, and then he's used the concept. So we are just trying to direct the system that we will be collecting an observation, and this observation, its concept ID is 1532, and we've looked at the dictionary. 1532 is numeric, so we'll actually expect a numeric answer. Over to you, Patrick.
All right, thank you, Anthony. Can you guys hear me? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, yeah, so that was a description of how basically to come up with a form. So we've basically added one item on the form, and that one should reflect on the form on the interface. And if you add the items there as described, so you'll have to add a text, and one numeric for it to save. So I think, do you have any questions on the form development? Because that is basically how it's been developed. Oh.
Patrick, I have a question.
Yes.
So my question is on the styling. So when it comes to CSS, is there, because I know when you look at the forms in KenyaEMR, they tend to have the same kind of the same styling. Just for conformity, is what can you talk about when it comes to styling?
Okay. When it comes to styling, I think up there you can see a bit of CSS. You can incorporate CSS Okay, I was saying for the styling, you can use the CSS that is pretty much part of the HTML form structure. I'm highlighting the, like for example, this simple table that you can use to style it. So I think for styling, it's pretty much, you can pretty much do with CSS, and also you can, for a bit of logic, you can include the jQuery or rather JavaScript up there. So you have the already function that can manipulate it. So is that okay?
Because I'm looking at some of the div classes.
Yeah. So
and I can't see them on the inline CSS. So
yeah. So Wambua, I think in KenyaEMR, basically we have standard CSS that is used across. So you only include yours if you want to maybe alter that look. I'm sure that's what you are asking.
yeah, so maybe for such, is it possible to get, can I call it a guide or what, indicating for content, this is the class you use, for form, this is the class you use, for table, this is the class you use, and such.
Yeah.
kind.
So you see the div, the class KE form header. Basically,
Yeah.
the form is divided into I think three sections. We have the form header, and in KenyaEMR, that's where you see that's where you'll find the encounter date and then the location, which will always point to the one that has been configured for that facility. And then the KE form content is basically what now should record the observations. And then down, just go down. And then we have the footer, and the footer should just have submit. So all these are like predefined CSS. So only you can actually alter are, unless you want to override them, but they come standard. So all you can actually alter are the inline CSS within them for uniformity purposes. I'm sure that's what you wanted to know about, right?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know about. So I don't know, is it possible? Okay, I don't know. Is it possible to have a look at the CSS? Maybe even if you just share, then you have a look at it individually.
Yeah, maybe those are stuff we can share just can I say after, because unajua those are now the nitty-gritties, eh? Maybe
That's okay.
some of the participants just want to know how to build a form, not even the look and feel. So I think, yeah, slowly we'll be getting to that point. Yeah. So basically, HTML form in KenyaEMR has, let me just say, 4 sections. You have the upper sections, which should contain any JavaScript or CSS. The next one is the KE form, the form header, where we have always placed the encounter date and the facility, and sometimes you will find the user there. So that is usually the header, the form header in KenyaEMR. And then the section where you now provide your stuff, you now record stuff, that we call it the form content now. And then the last section is the footer, and the footer you'll just find submit and cancel buttons. Yeah, over to you.
All right, any more questions on the form development?
So Wango, maybe just to, as we do this, I think it's good to just, if you have a look at KenyaEMR, you'll realize that you have categories of forms. So we have common forms, we have program forms, and we have, yeah, sorry. Yeah, and then we have visit forms, but visit forms are basically program forms. So we just have two types of forms. We have common forms and program forms. So when adding a form in KenyaEMR, other than just defining the layout, I think Wano will take us through how to determine how to now configure what you have to either be under common form or program form.
Right. I think that is where we are going next. Basically, wiring the form that we've just developed. Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, we are wiring the form that we've just developed in the first session. So next we go to this file called module application context. So this is basically where you wire every particular feature together. So we have the forms, programs, and services. So we just start with the form that we've just done. So as you can see here with the inpatient form that we've called inpatientcare.html. So this is the form that we've done. So we wire it here in the model application context. As you can see, it is under KenH inpatientcare.html. And this is how we wire it. We make sure that we include it as a bin, which has an ID and a class. Class has to be the form descriptor of the core module. We give it a value, an UID, which should be unique. And basically, this part whereby we put the reference bin, registration, application, and chat. I think you can recall where Makombe had said that we have various applications in KenyaEMR, and this is basically defining the applications that we'll use or will display this form. So as you can see here, we say that the registration app should display it, the clinicians app, and the chat app. Yes, and in addition, we give it an icon. So this is some of the icons that are included in the KenyaEMR, or rather in the KenyaEMR module. So this is how we basically wire the form in KenyaEMR, and this basically enables it to be pushed to KenyaEMR. So you wire it in this add-on module so that it can be, the KenyaEMR will basically kind of ping this module application context and request that this form be displayed instead of you having to name it in any other module in the KenyaEMR. So this is basically one of the critical files in the add-on module, which will determine what will be reflected in KenyaEMR. So I think there are just two items here. First of all, make sure you have the config form, and you reference it back here in the form descriptor. Yes, so the others are pretty much standard, and they will come with the module, with the add-on module. Yes, but this is basically how you wire the form inside. The other part that we will go next is, as I had said, this particular file wires all the particular features that will be pushed to KenyaEMR. As you can see, we have the form on top, and then we have the reports just here. This is a simple report that we created. So we'll next go to show you how to create the report, and this is how you wire it so that it can be reflected in the KenyaEMR add-on module.
So I can also just add on something on what Patrick said. But can you just scroll down where he was pointing where outward forms? Yes, yes. Scroll down a bit. Yes. So up to there, you can see when we are the property. I don't know if people are seeing the property name written there, common visit forms. But can you highlight that? Common visit forms. Just as Anthony had mentioned that we have program forms and common visit form. So like this form we are creating, we are now saying it should appear under common visit form. So that property will be changing. If you want your forms to appear under program forms, they will be under visit forms. So that one should be noted. So that being the form is set there so that it will be under common forms. Another thing, if you go to the form, we have the value. There is a value there represented by UUID. So the UID here is the form UUID. So I would like Patrick to take us to the metadata and see where we are specifying all these for the form to be complete. So you have to define the form UID. You have to define the encounter type for that form so that it's installed for you on the EMR. So you'll realize that the UID which is put there as the value of the form corresponds to the UID for on the metadata. So like you can see there, we space under the metadata, just as we had said, in the metadata, you can introduce so many things using the add-ons. But so now we'll just focus on the form because that's what we are still dealing with, and the encounter type. But under the metadata, you can add a program, you can add identifiers, you can add relationship types. So many things can be added under the metadata. So if you can see, we are defining a form. So you can see that method form. And here is where you will be putting all the form UIDs that you are trying to create. And the UID here we are using, you can generate it. There is a tool online where you can just go online and generate the UIDs. So, yeah, Patrick, can you just show that? You can just go online and generate the UIDs and you pick and put there. So I think Patrick can just tell us that tool which we can use to generate the UIDs. Yeah. It's
You can just Google UUID generator.
He has sent that on the chat. So if you go online to that tool, you can just specify the number of UIDs you want to generate. If you only want one, just put one and generate. Then you click that UID to come and place here, right? So it should be unique. That's why we are saying you have a tool that generates for you that. So a form, as we all know, is has to be tied to an encounter type. So each form comes with its encounter type. So these ones you will also have to generate the encounter type. Just go up. Like just as was explained earlier in the OpenMRS model, we have the encounters and encounter types, and also forms. So if you check that model properly, you will find that. So these are what we are trying to install for you. So normally, when you install a KenyaEMR, these ones will be pre-installed for you when you start Tomcat or when you upgrade. On that process, they are just installed, so users may not be aware, but they will be just pre-installed. So that's how we install the forms. So first of all, install its encounter type, then you associate that encounter type with the form, just as Patrick has highlighted there. So when you've done those two, plus hooking the form on the other side in the module application context, plus having the HTML form, then your form is now complete. If you build, you will be able to see that form appearing in KenyaEMR. Over to you, Patrick.
Yes, thank you, Makombe. So that is a summary of basically all what it entails when you want to create a form. So you have the form, you declare its metadata, and then you hook it in the module application context, and that one should appear on your, once you build and put your module into the to the distro, it should appear, and very critically what you have specialized. So I think that is all for the form, unless we have any other question.
Now show them the form in KenyaEMR.
Okay.
Not even now.
So as Patrick preparing to show you the form, now we can take questions if there are any.
Yeah, and I know this is a lot already. That's why we had. Okay, maybe Patrick, you just go first.
Yes, okay, let me first show you that how it comes as a visit form. So so if I highlight one client, yes, so here is our form, KNH patient care form, and I think you can all see it. Can you see? Yes, and if I can open it, here it will, here it is.
So just to highlight, you can see the form. This was as it was originally before we effected the changes. So remember we added age and even changed some labeling, okay? So for that to appear, what needs to be done is to build the module and load it afresh. That's when you will be able to see those changes. I think maybe others are wondering why they are not seeing age or the labels which we have changed as we were demonstrating. So he has not built the form, but he has just used whatever he had built earlier. So that's why you are not able to see the latest changes that we effected on the form. But if he builds and uploads the module, then you will be able to see those changes.
I'm building it in a few. You should be able to see it.
So maybe you need. Yeah. So as that is happening, we knew this is a lot. You can't actually just start doing things on your own. The most important thing when doing forms is to actually know what you want to collect. After knowing what you want to collect, you need to actually confirm if there are already concepts for you in the concept dictionary. If not, we just need to liaise, to work together so that we make those concepts available. That way, we will be encouraging reuse across different SDPs. Yeah, then so we had prepared a number of add-on modules for the different partners so that your work in the beginning is not to actually know what to hook where. If you just want to do a form, you just open that add-on module, duplicate a form, make it, add the variables you want, you build and you add. So I think we were just trying to, I mean, for this first pass, we don't want to let you do those the low level technical things. At least, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So we were trying to shield you from those low level technical things. So we've created add-on modules for, I think, for every team. So if you want to add a form, just pick, I mean, duplicate what is there, configure it appropriately, and build, and just add the OMOD to the OMOD folder. I think for the maybe for the next few months, we'll be working together until you will be able to do it on your own. I think that's the approach we thought would work, because this is new stuff to you, and you cannot, we cannot let you just start doing those technical things akina Wango wamesema without our guidance. Yeah, so maybe we can take some questions, clarifications as we wait for the changes to effect. Actually, as you can see from the screen, there is a new module called KNH 100 snapshot. So, yeah. So I think that's a new OMOD, and that is basically everything that is being injected into KenyaEMR. So if you remove that OMOD, you will be removing everything that it injects. If you add it, you'll add that. I think that actually answers some questions that were asked last week. What will happen whenever we do a release here from Palladium. So with the release, you just pick your add-on module, drop it in the modules folder, and you'll have everything as it was. Yeah. Back to, oh, we can take some questions, suggestions. Yeah, so Patrick has opted to actually pick the OMOD and drop it in the modules folder and then restart Tomcat. Another way would have been to just go to the developer app, go to manage modules, manage modules, and then you upload. Is it update or upgrade? Upgrade a module. Then you just select the OMOD, and Tomcat will automatically restart. When it's done, you'll be able to see the changes. Questions? Ndio tujue kama tuko pamoja ama we are swimming alone. I see we are very many here. Do we have any questions? First of all, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Wambua, so
No, just a clarification. Not really a question. I can see we have begun with form. Hope you'll also look at reports, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think reports are next.
So for the form, we're going to look even at the processing bit.
The processing.
As in how data maybe moves from the view all the way to the DB. If there's a model class, if there's a controller class, where you can be able maybe to validate. So is it maybe something you are planning on maybe taking us through also?
Oh, unajua ukiingia kwa swimming pool unaanzia shallow end so that we are together. I think we have a lot more you can do with forms. When hooking up forms, there is I think it's show if calculation. I mean, you may want to decide when to show that form. You know, and it's usually like just some logic which is executed when you open a patient's profile, and it will determine whether that form will show or not. So, but I never wanted us to get to that right now, but still, it's still good to just mention so that we know it's possible.
I was thinking in the lines of maybe just a clarification. The way the form right now, as it is it able to save the data? Because I haven't seen anywhere that maybe we have. We've only made the form, so I don't know how. Maybe or you can explain to us how now the data gets to the DB. Is it something that maybe OpenMRS works its way in the background, or what happens?
So Patrick, maybe you can open the POM file. So there is a module in OpenMRS called HTML form entry. That module actually handles all the logic around saving, editing, and deletion of forms. So our work here is to just define the layout. Yeah, our work here is to just define the layout. Once your form is added to KenyaEMR, you can actually collect data, you can store, I mean, it will save, you can edit and stuff like that. So once the server is back up, I think Patrick can attempt to just save, edit, and see what happens. But all that is already taken care of. So the add-on module does not require you to get to that deep end. Was that helpful, Wambo?
Yeah, I think that makes it clear.
Yeah. But just Google like OpenMRS HTML form entry. You'll find, yeah, you shared JavaScript reference. Yeah, so I mean, look at it as just building HTML form, only that you may need to know about some few additional tags that will make your work easy when working with OpenMRS. Iko karibu. Any other question? Yes, so there is where we are. So you actually, so on the form, we had 4 sections, but 3 are the ones that are required for the form. You see where that region, just after KNH in patient care form, we have enrollment date. So. Patrick, I think we need to change this to encounter date, but that's just a label. That's basically the form header. So where we have enrollment date and location, that's the form header. And then here we have where we have information. You see that section, that is the form content. And then hapa chini where we have enter form and discard changes, that's the form, the footer section. So look at a HTML form in OpenMRS or in KenyaEMR to basically have three main sections: the header, the content, and the footer. So once that is clear, I think the rest will just come as we continue to orient ourselves with the process. So Patrick has tried to enter something. Maybe you can enter. Yeah, so there it is. You've been able to save. Maybe you want to edit. Yeah, there it is. So basically, the process has been to just know what you want, get the right concepts to store your stuff, and then maybe on the edge try doing TT or something. I know that should be numeric. Yeah, so basically, depending on the concept used, there are some out-of-the-box validations. If we had for age, we had picked a numeric concept. So by default, it should only allow numeric responses. So trying to do something like that, even without us validating, the platform will validate it for us. So the form development process is knowing the form, what you want to do. So you need to prepare. Preparation means knowing all the variables you want, understanding when to show the form. So that tells you whether this is a form which should just be shown if one is enrolled in HIV. That makes it a HIV program form. Or if it's of a form like triage, we know everyone, regardless of whether they are in a program or not, they should be able to see the form. So that makes it a common form. So you just need to understand what the form is all about, understand the variables you want to collect, check in the concept dictionary to find if there are concepts already for the variables, build the form, build the module and add it to the modules folder, restart Tomcat. That's all you need to do for forms development. Over.
Maybe Patrick can also just show how you can upload form to the developer app. The module. Yeah, the module. How you can upload the module.
Hello. So can you hear me now? Hello. All right. So I wanted to show you how to get into view the module that we've just added. I think you can just see there that it is active. So that KNH version 1.0.0 snapshot. Auto Makombe, no description. I think Makombe have done a description. So okay, yes. So this is the module that we've just added. If by chance you didn't want to add it into the development module, you could have just come here and clicked add or upgrade module and browsed to where your module is. Yeah. So I can probably upgrade an existing module. So I'll go to where my modules are. Yes, and then upload. But you'll have to how to. That is basically where you find your modules and whether it is running. If it is not running, it will tell you that it's not running. If it's running, it will tell you that it's active. And if you want to add or upgrade a module, this is basically how to upgrade it. So I think if there is no questions, we can now go to reports. Because right now, if you do this process, it will start Tomcat, includes your module. Basically, it includes your module and starts Tomcat. No more questions. In the meantime, as Tomcat is restarting, we can start on the reports part of it. Any questions?
Is Kevin present? Do you have Kevin with us?
Yes, I'm present.
Ah, Kevin, please as well.
We are following.
I know you've always asked me this, so I just want to be sure that we are together.
All right. I think next.
Yeah, so what I'd explained earlier on, as we start, you will not do those low-level technical things. We'll just share with you the modules. The ownership will be under your names. So if it's KNH, I think it should just read KNH. If it's CHS, it should read CHS. So that all you do right now, if you have a form, if you have a report, you just focus on what it is that you want to add, not really the setup and stuff like that.
All right. Now, can you see my dev environment? Hello. All right. So I think next we go to the reports. So there are basically two types of reports, a cohort report and an indicator report. And I'll go directly to first how we dev them, and I'll show you them subsequently on the internet. So basically on the API, you can go to, this is the hierarchy. So after Java, you can say, come back.
We are seeing your POM file.
You can see my builder now. All right, so basically when you're building a report, first important file to work on is the builder. The different the different types of reports are defined in the builder. Like for example, here we've tried to
Mm-mm. Um, yeah. So maybe just before Wango gets to this, um, if you look at our reporting needs, sometimes I mean, we have different categories of reports you may want to build in the system. One, we have indicator reports, where you just want to know, like, the numbers, how many came on Thursday, how many were started on drugs last month, how many. I know KenyaEMR provides an extra level of showing you the line lists under the how many thing, but um, the, 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 the the main thing there, the main descriptor there is the report we are trying to talk about is an indicator report because of, I mean, it has those count things, how many questions. Now, you may want to build a line list. So a line list basically just, yeah, you just need to define the criteria for the report, and then add the columns that you want to show on the report. So we call that cohort report in KenyaEMR. The other one is called indicator report. So as Patrick will be showing stuff, you'll most likely see things like indicator or cohort or stuff like that. But even from the names, I think um, you are not new to indicators and cohort, which basically is people with some shared characteristics. So I think those explains the different categories of reports you can build in system. And to build a report, we have building blocks. Just like for forms, we have building blocks. We talked about HTML. For reports, I think we have in OpenMRS or in KenyaEMR, we have builders. So depending on your build, you can specify whether you are building a cohort or an indicator report. And then the rest will now be directed by the builder. So yeah, take it back.
All right, thank you, Anthony, for the introduction. So I'll just show you how basically we come up with, I think we'll start with this cohort report. And as you can see, there's a cohort. So basically you first have to define the cohort you're using. And for this is the indicator. Okay, this is the indicator report. Okay, basically, as you can see, we first describe the indicator report by having the library. This one is where you, this is where you
Let me help you. So can you hear me? Yeah, so maybe I'll just give a bit of the overview. So I'm going to just go to the builder, surgery report builder. I think we just picked this one, builder. Yeah, so in a report, look at, take an Excel to be what we want to have. So that becomes our entire report. And then, yeah, in OpenMRS, we have a builder. So the builder will basically show the report that you want to build. And then we have data sets. We have data sets. So look at a data set as that one sheet in Excel. It's that one sheet in Excel, and it has rows and columns. Yeah. So as you look at this builder, Patrick, just go scroll down. I just want to make sure that we don't lose you. Scroll down, just scroll down. Yeah. So here we are defining a data set, and this data set will just have how many columns? Not really columns, but we have rows here. So we have, if you look at line 51, we are adding a row. Line 51, sorry. Wait. Scroll down. Ah, yeah, there. Oh, it's line 91, sorry. So line 91, we are adding a row called tx new. In line 95, we are adding another row called tx car. In line 90, we have LTFU recent, and then line 101, we have LTFU RTC, return to care, I think. Yeah, so these ones we are using some utility libraries. So I'm just explaining what it means to actually add a report with these sections. So Patrick, I want you to just run this report first, and then we try to look at the output. We compare the output against this builder. I think it will be much easier than trying to do it like this.
let me share the interface.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the report.
As you can see, we have a section there. It has a label of 3, and then under it we have TX new, we have TX car, we have LTFU recent, and LTFU RTC. So as you can see, we have values for them. That's what makes this report an indicator report. You know, we are just asking how many are TX new? We have 16. How many are TX car? We have 2478. How many are LTFU RTC? We have 3. So now if we go back to the code, yeah, you can see the three, Patrick, just scroll up a bit. We had a section labeled 3. If you can look at line 79, we are defining a data set. And this data set, we call it, where's the data set name? Anyway, it's okay. We set the name as 3. So this 3 is what will actually be shown there in the field set. And then we define parameters, like we want to have a start date and we want to have an end date. I'll skip line 82 and 83 but basically they are just dimensions. These are the disaggregations. We are specifying that we want this report to use some age disaggregations and gender disaggregations. I think that we really don't need these two because we don't have their use in this particular report. Line 91, we define TX new, and TX new, we are basically just adding a row. We could have, this add row does something in the background, but I want to point out certain things. The base name is what you see on the UI. The base label is actually, it's also part of it. It's just next to it there. And then, okay, this is how indicators are done. For you to answer the question, how many TX new do we have? We need a query that actually will be able to count for us. We put the logic for TX new, and then we expect something else to actually count for us people that meet the logic. So we use things called cohorts, and a cohort is just a group of people with shared characteristics. So in the cohort definition, we will specify what logic gets TX new. And then, being an indicator report, the framework will basically count those people for us. And that is what we see as the numbers now. So if you look at line 91, we have now line 92, report utils map. So when we say add row, we are adding TX new, and we are looking at, you see that team indicators dot new on at. That is basically, so Patrick, you can click on that. Let's just follow that, new on at, just follow it. If you do that, it brings us to a cohort indicator. A cohort indicator now does counting, but it's counting from some logic. So we have cohorts, we call it surge cohorts, and we have new on at. So just do new on at, click on new on at here. If you get there, it opens the query which is behind the number. So as you can see, this is just a normal query picking data from the ETL. And what we've put here is the logic for txnew. So if you provide start date and end date, it will then evaluate this based on the date, and the surge indicator library, there, click where you are. Yeah, whatever we have here will now count. Will now count the people we have, and then in the builder, we now return the number. So the result of line 91 will be a number. So we've talked about 3 things. We have a builder which has a data definition, and in a data definition, you add simply a row. A row is, in most cases, these will be columns. You know, a row will be, yeah, it may have columns or not, but here we have a column, and that column, yeah, you'll see it. It's called something -25. But don't bother about that. Right now, we just want to know that you need a report builder. You specify in that whether you are doing an indicator report or a cohort report. And then within the builder, you define data definition, data set definitions. So a data set is basically a collection of row and columns. So that's why when you do a data set definition, add row, it knows what to do. And for indicators, you will have where to specify the logic. And this happens through the use of queries. You just write your queries, and the queries it's a cohort query. So it should return a list of IDs, unique IDs, and then the wrapper around it should be a count. So you count so this will basically be a subquery. So you'll do select count from whatever we are seeing on the screen. So that's what happens in the background, and that's how reports are wired. That is for indicator reports. I think cohort reports would have been easier because you just add the columns in I don't know, Ango, maybe if you can just open KenyaEMR and we look at some simple cohort-based report, something like transferred out. Yeah, so yeah, as that is coming, I mean, what I just want you to understand is that to do a report in KenyaEMR, you still want to understand what kind of report you want to build. Is it a line list, or is it an indicator? We know indicators will eventually give you the line list underneath, but you need to be sure of what you want to do. So what we are seeing is a transfer out report. And if you look at the transfer out report in KenyaEMR, you will see the name, unique patient number, age, sex, transfer out date, transfer out verified. I mean, it's a column that was added, and the verification date, last visit date. Wango, maybe you just run this report, and then we also compare with the builder. So our promise is still clear. This is too much. We don't want you to die sooner. So we will just make sure that you do the bits that you need to do. All those other ones, I think, as we learn together, as we grow together in this, we will be just guiding you so that you do what you are required to do. There is no way you could have split your first screen, but Misawa. No, no. We can't even see your screen. Oh, it's there. Yeah, so look at the report. We have a name, we have unique number, age, sex, transferred out date, verified, and all those other columns. So to build such a report, this is a cohort report because you know, it's a line list. Yeah, so to just go back to, so please master this, whatever you see, so that when we get to the builder, we'll be able to correlate. So you can just get back to the builder. Builder code. Yeah, so as you can see, with the other report, we were adding rows, but what adding of rows does, it just add columns in the background. So here we explicitly just do add column because it's a cohort report. So maybe just scroll up. Is it up or down? I want to see the start of the file. Yeah, so we are doing a report builder, and okay, so we have I think three kind of builders in KenyaEMR. They are just like wrapper builders. We have the indicator, we have hybrid, so, and then we have cohort. So you see a report like transfer out, it only has a line list. So that is a cohort report. So we'll have cohort builder. I mean cohort report builder. If you have something like 731, it's purely indicator. So you will extend like the indicator report builder. But then there is the hybrid one, which kind of brings together the two. You can have some parts which are indicators. You can have some parts which are like line lists. If you look at the RDQA report, the upper section is usually indicators because those are just like numbers, TX car, TX new, nini. And then below it, you actually have like a line list. So that's a sample hybrid report builder. But that is, I thought maybe I should just mention it now, but you really don't have to understand that right now. So in this builder, we want to specify that we'll need a start date and an end date. That is what we have in line 62 to 67. You just and then in line 74, we are now defining the columns. we want to define which columns will be in that report. So just scroll down. Yeah, so from line 94, now we have the things. This ID is usually required it's internally used by KenyaEMR. I'm sure you've seen reports where if you select on maybe what is it? I mean, if you don't include it, you'll not be able to click on that person and view the profile on chat. So always when doing such reports, by default, it should not be in your output when you download, but just know that it's internally used by KenyaEMR. So, but the rest will be in the output, maybe in Excel or CSV or something. So basically, if you do add a column for something like name, unique number, age, sex, those are things you will not be doing. They just come, you can simply copy what is here because they are standard in KenyaEMR. The things which you now want are things like transfer out date. So here we are using a calculation, which I see is they basically use calculations. I wanted to show something that has something we use a query in the ETL. So a calculation is it's code. It's code basically. I don't want to show that right here, but when we'll actually start now doing this, you will at one point interact with them. So which one? Which report has no, not that one. This is missed appointment. Just do ART register report builder, or you can do the defaulter tracing register. Let me just see. CCC defaulter tracing. Yeah, so date of tracing, no calculation. Tracing type data definition. Yeah, so when you are dealing with cohort reports, line lists, the building blocks are you have a report builder, you have a data definition, I mean a data set, and that data set should just specify which columns will be in the report. So a column will have we call that data in the reporting context for KenyaEMR. So that's why if you see like a data definition, you'll be specifying how that data needs to be extracted. So I know in the previous one, when we were looking at Surge, we used an indicator, and an indicator has a cohort query that powers it, that gets us the numbers. Here, we want, it's not an, it's actually, maybe you, this is like tracing type. Was it physical? Was it by phone? So it's not, we will not expect to do like a count. We want the actual data. So that's why you see here, tracing outcome data definition. So don't even, I mean, these are some of, I'll not dwell much on Java stuff. So Patrick, maybe you just open the evaluator for this. So just know that of course we wanted, was it type? But it's okay. We can still use this one. No, I want the type one. The type one, I think we'll just select from tracing outcome data and then Control Shift N. Here. Select part of that text and do Control Shift N. Yeah, Control Shift N. Yeah, so then we have the evaluator there. So the evaluator is basically what has the logic. So this is like more of a definition. I want this, but the evaluator now has the actual logic that you have. So open it. Yeah, so this is the thing. Okay, so yeah, so this is basically the query. It's a query that that returns, it's a key value thing, and the key is actually something okay, what you need to understand here is that in the evaluator, you'll put the logic where you want to pick this data. And from here, we are saying we want just two things. We want to return contact or no contact from the ETL default tracing. So the outcome should have been, we just need to know whether one was contacted or not contacted. So we already have this data in the ETL. So it's here where we now define the evaluator. For you, I know you write queries. All we will do to just help us work together is that you will show what you want, and then we will guide you on the process so that you know where to put that query. The most important thing here is that query. These other ones, they are like standard things, which with the time they'll just come. They'll just come by themselves. That's why I don't want to dwell a lot on them. So from what you've seen, whether you are working with an indicator report or a cohort report, there is query writing involved. Once you get the right query, plugging it in will not be an issue. We'll guide the process until that time when each and every one of us will be comfortable. So I think over to you, Wango.
All right, thank you, Anthony, for that overview. It has been quite, I think, hello, can you hear me, guys? Yes, it's been quite deep, and I think that is the basic building blocks for reports. And I think just to recap on one bit that kind of summarizes the report is that you need still to wire the report back to your add-on module. I think so we already have the report. So let me share the add-on module to show you how we wired the report. Yes. So if you can look down here, the report that we created for the surge report, this report builder, you basically, on top of it here where it rates, it builds, you just wire this in this application, module application context file. So as we said earlier on, this one is the file that kind of glues all these reports together and make sure that they are pushed back to your KenyaEMR. So this is how you wire it. So you just put this bin, you make sure that it's in the under common reports. Again, as in the forms, there were common visit forms. Now here we also have common reports. You declare that you kind of declare that the surge reports. You make sure that your build is the same. Yes.
I'm not sure whether we are seeing what you're showing.
How we wait back to module application context. So can you see now?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So in this, the module application context, so the builder that, a similar builder that Anthony explained, you'll have to wire it back here, and you have to have a bin ID. Make sure it most likely will be under common reports. And you declare it, you must also have a unique UUID, simply the way that we had done with the forms. You go to, you generate a very unique UUID, you place it there. You can have a value for it. So this one will be the title shown on your common reports. And basically, and so for mostly for indicator reports, some might have an Excel which maps into them. So here is where you, after you have to make sure that you copy that Excel somewhere into the OMOD file. So mostly we do them in the resources, and you basically link it here on the value on the templates. As I'm sure you can see the template. So you specify the template here and the link on where it is. You've saved it, and most likely it's going to be on your module on the resources file. Those are for mostly indicator reports that have templates. So we have reports that have templates like 731, the dating reports. They all have templates, mostly from the ministry. So I'm sure you might also have this. So you want to map them. This is how you do it. I could also show how you map the various indicators on the template. But I think that is something that we can sit with you guys and take you through. So those, I think so far we've covered the forms, the reports, the programs. I'm thinking that is quite a bit for today. If you can have any questions generally for the entire train, the entire demo, I think we could handle them at this point. Mr. Wambua, any question?
Hello, can you hear me? I have a question. Oh, can you hear me? I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, we have data which was captured previously using this custom forms you want to build. Shall we migrate the data, or will you guide us not to migrate the data, or we shall just start afresh?
Migrate the data in which context? Because
okay. Currently, we are using custom forms in our facility, and there is data which it's being captured using that form, those forms, and now we are in the process of building them. So when we are done, shall we migrate the data, or what shall we do?
So the custom forms are already in KenyaEMR or
No,
in
in
IQCare?
IQCare.
I think the first thing we'll design a migration tool for them. Once we've already captured them in KenyaEMR, we'll just do the normal forms that we've done, like the way we were saying we'll do queries for them. But I think first we'll have to migrate them.
Okay, so before we start using the forms, we have to wait for you to guide us on how to migrate the data.
Yes, and I think that's an undertaking that we had already begun.
Okay.
No, I think we can build the forms and then migrate the previous data. I think what precedes the other is building the form in KenyaEMR, because whatever will be migrated will just be mapped to the forms that will be in the add-on module. So we can just clear building on forms, and then we just tweak the migration toolkit to now bring data for the custom forms. So nothing will be lost.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I know it's been very technical. So I think one day at a time, one step at a time. Today is more of an overdose. I think if okay, I'm foreseeing maybe having this call weekly, where we can have like a partner providing maybe the forms, and then we use like a practical session. Now that all these will not be new, we just go through the process of adding those, at least for the ones that will be easy or automatic in KenyaEMR, and then as we build our capacity. I feel today has been an overdose. Not sure whether guys are breathing. Not sure whether you still feel it's something you can do. So my quick recommendation is if we could just have this weekly, where we now use partner-specific, something like partner-specific forms, to just see, we'll just pick like a small form and see, build one, you see how we add it. We don't add things in your absence. We'll be adding them as you watch. We build and see how things come in KenyaEMR. How do you feel about that? Hey, can you hear me? Are we together?
Yes, we are together.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that proposal?
It's okay, it is fine. That's okay.
Yeah, so I know we have partners with custom forms. I know there are certain variables that we'll look at the forms and we'll pick the ones maybe we start with, and do very simple ones, do a bit of complex ones, we see. Or if guys want to begin with reports, we could just begin with reports. We see the kind of reports that are required. If we already have those stuff in our ETLs, those will be like, it will be straightforward. If we don't have, we may discuss another way of just pushing stuff to the ETL. So Yeah, that's my suggestion. So if guys are okay with that, I think we can then purpose to have this maybe weekly. It may not be like 2 hours or 3 hours, but like just a focused meeting where we just pick one thing, do it completely, and then move to the next thing, maybe in the next meeting. No, today we've talked about forms, we've talked about reports, you've talked about, it's a lot. It's a lot in one day. Let me say in 2 hours. So now trying to narrow down the scope, I think will boost your understanding of the flow and all that we'll be doing going forward. Yeah, so Patrick, maybe if we can have other questions, suggestions.
I need a question. So there is a place, I think it is under report builder. For instance, under search report builder, I can see you specified those the base name, and maybe you can just open so that I remember what. Maybe scroll down.
Scroll down. Okay.
Or it was not here. Whereby, yeah, there. So you have the base name and you have the base label, right?
Yes.
That one I think I understand. But now when you go to the report, there's something written total, in bracket total. That is on the interface. And in some instances, it's children. In some instances, it's adults. So I was just trying to wrap around my head. At what point does that bit come in?
Yeah, so I think one thing when you now introduce disaggregations, you want to know that let's take for Surge. Yeah? Surge, I think, doesn't use disaggregations. Surge doesn't use disaggregations. Maybe Patrick, line 82 is edge disaggregation. So just click on common dimensions.datin so that we see what these things really mean. Eh? Yeah, click on it. Yeah, so this is basically where we define the edge disaggregation. So like below 1, we know that is edge at most 0, actually. So 1 to 4, 5 to 9. These will be the keys. And then down, just scroll down. Scroll down, Patrick. I want to see the totals. I want to see the totals. Patrick, that in fine age. Okay. So basically, what it means is these are like the age disaggregations. We also have gender disaggregations, that is for male, female. So the total is basically, it passes no disaggregation. So you go to the Surge report builder. So I think I also saw totals somewhere. Yeah, so you see like total is basically nothing. You can see line 65, we are defining the total, the column for total. Line 85, it's not very clear. Yeah, so we are defining that, and in the dimension, we are actually passing a blank dimension. You see that? So it means we would just want to count everybody. If you would have put a dimension there as less than 1, then it will count those who are less than 1, something like that. But I know it's still complex right now, but it will be sinking as we continue to have these sessions. Wambua, did I answer you?
Yes, but I think it will become more clearer as maybe
As
get
we,
practical, as we do.
Yeah, as we get that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't you worry. I mean, it's a new thing, so we really have to be strategic in how we introduce it to you. Otherwise, you may feel that it's a lot. What is complicated is that it's Java based, so you may want to know what to do with Java, but we will shield you from all that as we begin, because we'll just let you do the bits that you should do. Like if you want a report with an indicator, if you can do a query for that indicator, then we now come in to plug them in for you. And then we push to you the code, or we build for you, you just add. That's one way of collaborating until you are able to do it yourself. Yeah. Any other question? So as you can see, these add-on modules are very, 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 can I say, nothing can interfere with them. That's why even if we upgrade, you'll be sure that your stuff will be intact. They are self-contained. All they do is to just depend on KenyaEMR because they are injectors. Okay. Any other question? Any recommendation? Maybe I'll recommend if we can have a list of simple forms. I know we already have some forms from KNH, so we can use those to show how to add like an actual form. We'll now start from the technical bit. We'll not even do the overview so that we are able to look at the process of building forms, going through the variables, checking whether there are concepts for them, and then we just build it, install, and see what happens. So any partner with some forms, you can actually share so that we just show you the process. So as we'll be doing this on this side, you could start thinking on how to do the rest. Nimeongea mingi sana, yet I was just to be in the background. So acha niwaachie Wang'o na Makumbe to continue. Over to you, Wang'o, Makumbe.
All right, thank you, Anthony. I think the floor is open for anybody with a question. Any other question? Hello, any other question?
Mine is just maybe a clarification. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So mine is just a clarification. I can see we had 22 participants, and I believe from different organizations. Now, I don't know the capacity at Palladium, that is in terms of people, but I've had you mentioning that you'll be engaging each and every one of us. So my question would be, will you be engaging at individual capacity, that is one-on-one, or will it be kind of something like a virtual boot camp?
Hello, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, kindly repeat the question. I think some of us were not on board, but would like.
So my question is, I can see we are 22 participants, and I think at some point we are 28. So, and I believe you're from different organizations. So, and I heard you say that we'll be working with each and every person to make sure that they have their custom forms and they have the custom reports they might want. So my question was, will it be on a one-on-one basis? Let's say, for instance, if it's you reach out to first to CHS, take them through, or will it be like something like a virtual boot camp where you'll work with us all?
Yeah, I think what we can say right now are just our, I mean, yeah, opinions, suggestions, but you know, we are already a team. So whatever the team feels is right is what I think we will go by. For me, I would suggest that in the next meeting, we just pick one form. We look at the paper form, how it looks like, and then we walk through the process of trying to consult the concept dictionary to look for the concepts. And then we get to the form, we add those stuff, and just see. That's I mean, if we do it for one, I mean, when we are together, I think different teams can now just sit down and even attempt their own, so that in the subsequent meetings, we can now have teams like showing us what they've been able to do, the blockers, so that the blockers, the blockers that we experience as we try becomes, become lessons for for other teams. I think that way we'll be able to uncover a lot of things in a short time. Yeah, but it's my opinion. Yeah. What are your preferences? Yes, and Wambua, I think from there we can have like maybe specialized meetings with the different teams, if it's still agreeable. So I think it's a bit open, and it depends on like how different teams would want to collaborate or to engage. Kevin.
Yes, I actually agree. I agree. We can have a report that you can develop from scratch,
Yeah.
and post, and we do a similar thing even for a form. Then we post during the next meeting.
Yes. Yeah. So I just mentioned you because I think sometimes you could ask me, and even Wambua, to share with you the queries we've used for certain reports, and we tell you we do these things in code. So this is actually why we can't. I mean, you have a line list. There is a different thing that populates the columns. So and basically, I'm just trying to say, once we understand this, at least you'll be able to understand why sometimes you ask for queries for certain reports and we tell you, no, it's not straightforward. We have used it in, we have defined it in code and stuff like that. Yeah, but I think I don't. Maybe we pick on very simple things to do together. If we have to combine forms and reports, because I think your context switching may not be very good for starters. We can say we start with form. I mean, next time we just do form. So we can do 1 or 2 or 3 forms. We just see. And then the other week we do reports. We have 1, 2, 3 reports. And then from there we can engage based on your preferences. Is that okay, Kevin?
Yes, that's very fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and our promise, our assurance, they are not as difficult as they may look. Sahi bado tunateremka tu pole pole. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Anthony. Any more comments, suggestions, and opinions? All right, I think at this point I can give it back to Otieno. Otieno, are we together? Hey, Bernard.
Otieno, we just saw you here. Please confirm that you've been with us. Or else we'll assume that you left us.
So, Ajong, just a quick one, if you allow.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, for the KenyaEMR core, for people who are willing to maybe just give it a try.
Okay.
Is it possible to get that the KenyaEMR core?
Yeah, I think we can collaborate with you guys. We just need like a common platform where we can communicate and see what needs to be updated and changed. We are very open to suggestions and add-on. I think it's something that has been demonstrated with working with other teams. So I think as a team we can commit to assist each other on having changes on that too.
Yeah, so maybe just to add, everything is on GitHub, but to start contributing, I think you need to, basically the answer is yes. Actually, it's a very good thing because how OpenMRS is built is from add-on modules, things are harvested in the core. So you'll not have things in the add-on module forever. If we realize that that report Kevin has developed is actually required by CHS Shinda, EggPath, what. We'll harvest it so that it becomes the part of the core. So that's why we just need to understand all these process very well. We can collaborate on the core. You can still do as you do the add-on modules. So feel very welcome and let us know what you really need to get you started.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All right.
I saw Gino around.
So maybe just to add on that, like currently the the add-on model we are using to demonstrate is on GitHub. We push it to GitHub to Palladium. So if anybody want to see it, you just go to GitHub Palladium Kenya, then type OpenMRS module image, and you will get it.
Anthony, are you able to
Over
hear
to
me?
you, Ben.
Hello?
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Yeah, I think my audio is acting up, so I'm using Bluetooth machine for now. So I don't know. I was trying to ask so many questions, but they were not going through. So one of the questions was whether I needed to be specific on what we are going to cover next week, whether the guys are going to work on forms or reports or both for next week. So then we know the team can adequately prepare for the next session. Yeah, so I don't know if maybe Anthony can clarify on that.
I think I seem to see a trend. Can I say preference on reports? So maybe if we begin with reports next week, and then get to forms the other week.
Okay.
Unless the team feels otherwise. Naona watu wengi sana wanataka reports.
Okay, so I think then reports it is. So we'll do reports. Then the next thing is whether the schedule remains the same, 3 hours next week.
Alifanya reports.
But we can still go by that.
Okay. Okay, so I think then the last thing is the call ID, the Zoom link remains the same. It is a repeat call. So I think we'll not have to send out the Zoom invite again. We'll use the same link for all our subsequent sessions. So just have it somewhere. Then we meet on Thursday from 10 to 1. Then again, the other thing is that the session has been recorded. So I'm going to upload the same on YouTube for anyone who would want to go over it one more time. It is going to be available on YouTube in the next few hours before the end of the day. Then I had, Anthony, you talked about sharing some sample queries with the team. I don't know, you want to do that directly to them, or you just, how are you planning to send it out?
Sample queries.
I had something like that.
No. CSS. Whatever Wambua asked for. Yeah, maybe we'll just provide a link to GitHub. I think GitHub is where everything lies. Maybe Wango, if you can just share Palladium GitHub repository on chat so that we have.
Yeah, I've just shared the link. So if you just look at GitHub Palladium there, you will be able to search like that. This one I just search the module we are using to demonstrate. You will be able to search more modules like the ones you are interested in.
Okay. Yeah, so then lastly, I think is just for around documentation, there is a lot of interest to know the specific partners who are participating in this add-on session. So I don't know if it is safe to just assume that we only have Hope Worldwide, CRISP, CHAC, and COGRI, and Coptic and Afyajijini. I don't know if there is any other partner who has not registered in there, just for our own documentation. So if at all there is any, please just include your details in the chat area. We'll collect them from there. Otherwise, I don't know if there's any other question before we call it a day. Okay, so I think if there are no further questions, then I think we can end it at this point. So thanks everyone for participating. Let's meet again next week on Thursday, same time. So have a great afternoon. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.